So first up, we have Amandine Roche. Amandine is a UN empowerment specialist, an award-winning author of 3 books, a photographer, a yoga teacher, and a meditation teacher. She studied inner peace and nonviolence in India with His Holiness the Dalai Lama himself, along with other spiritual leaders. And for the last few decades, 2 decades, her work brought her to conflict zones such as Afghanistan, Libya, Haiti, Iraq, Congo, where she was there to heal the invisible wounds of war and to give leadership to women. Amandine is also the founder of the Amandine Foundation, which brings yoga and meditation to Afghanistan, as well as the Inner Peacekeeping Program for humanitarians on the front line. This program helps prevent depression, anxiety, and PTSD. She now lives in Mallorca, where she started her own retreat healing center. Our second speaker is Marion Chaygneaud-Dupuy. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I've got the nod. Marion graduated from Tibet University in Lhasa, which is the capital of Tibet, after 6 years of studying Buddhist philosophy and intensive retreats in monasteries and remote caves. She has climbed Everest, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And it's thanks to her and her team that 2 billion people who depend on water from the glaciers now get clean water thanks to her initiatives which protect the Himalayan mountains. She'll tell us more about that once she's on stage. Marion now works as a speaker and facilitator on leadership issues, and she's the author of 2 books which outline her personal journey, as well as her call to action for caring leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a massive round of applause for 2 wonderful panelists. Welcome to the stage, ladies. Woo. Hello, hello. Welcome in the circle. So we've got a big topic, inner change or inner growth to outer change. It's absolutely massive. We've already had a bit of a taste sample from Phoebe. I think this is a really important subject, especially for the audience we have here today. I imagine, maybe by a show of hands, how many of you in here would consider yourselves to be leaders? Change makers? Caregivers, mothers, fathers, right? So people who are in roles of taking care of people, taking care of the world. Basically, you're in a position of care. That sort of position, I think, puts us in a really interesting situation sometimes, where our external worlds, the people that we care for, the causes that we work for, can also affect us deeply on the inside through our empathy, through our connection to the causes that we serve. I'd love to talk a little bit first about why it's not so good, maybe, to get too involved in our work. Speaking from my own personal experience in my work, I know that if I get too involved with my clients, with my cause, I can get burnt out, I can get frustrated, I don't have the energy to be of service in the way that I think the cause requires. Amandine, you're an expert in this space. I want you to tell us a little bit about your story of what happened for you in Afghanistan, what you learned there, and maybe ultimately what we can learn from your journey as well on this topic.
Thank you, Martina. Good afternoon. Yeah, Afghanistan for me have been the best teacher ever. I should say Afghanistan is a land of truth. Afghanistan is a land of light. That's why there is so many men fighting for this light for a decade. And Afghanistan for me have been my best spiritual teacher ever, because I've been working in Afghanistan for almost 15 years. Working on women empowerment, democratization, human rights, freedom of expression with United Nations, on and off. And because of that, of course, it disturbed the Taliban regime, which was already collapsed. But so with my colleague, we faced a lot of danger, a lot of death threat, assassination, kidnapping. And I realized, working for Afghanistan for 15 years, literally, I killed myself for peace. And I realized, I was not aware of that, but After 15 years, I was completely broken and completely in chaos within. And I realized that I needed to fix myself. I was not okay, suffering of depression, anxiety, PTSD. And I was starting to have a stomach cancer. So I realized it was it was time for me to stop and to figure out how can I find my inner peace of mind again. And this is how I start a journey. And I have to say Afghanistan is like Tibet as well. It's such a energetical vortex on high frequency. But if you are too close, you burn yourself. But it's also an amazing teacher in the sense that Afghanistan peeled all the layer of my identity in order for me to reach the core of my soul. So because of all this trauma, I say, I cannot keep on walking like that. I need to figure out how I bring back my peace of mind. And I went to my first spiritual teacher, which is His Holiness the Dalai Lama, which I share with Marion. And I love his talk. I remember it was in 2007. During his public talk, he said, you cannot bring outer peace if you don't start within yourself. And his sentence resonates deep within myself in the sense, I say, who I am to work in Afghanistan for peace if I'm completely depressed inside and broken. So I realized that I'm a fraud. And I don't want to be a fraud. It's a question of alignment. You have to incarnate what you are preaching. And I was working on peace process and democratization. So I took my backpack and I went all around India to meet the Goenka, learn meditation, learn yoga, to meet Amma as well, to meet other spiritual teachers. And finally I went back to Afghanistan in 2008, where actually I realized all my colleagues were suffering of PTSD and also my Afghan colleagues. So they say, wow, can you start to teach yoga and meditation, which I started, and more I was teaching, I realized all of them were suffering of depression, anxiety. So I say, this is a question of mental health in this country. We have to do something. So I create this foundation where we create a Torch of Light school, 350 kids, and also teaching yoga, meditation in jail to Afghan women, to the Taliban. And you have a lot of success, I have to say, because they say, well, it's like a prayer, actually. We do it 5 times a day. We reconnect to Allah. It's kind of similar. And afterward, I realized, wait a minute, if all my Afghan can benefit of this meditation program, why not my UN colleague as well? So I connect with my boss, Ban Ki-moon in New York, and I say, are you aware of the sanity and the mental health of your staff on the front line? Because this is my story. I've been evacuated 4 times for security reasons. I've been suffering from depression and anxiety for so many years, but this is also a story of all my colleagues. What can we do? And he said, well, I'm very aware of that, but I don't know what to do. I said, well, in this case, we should give some tools to incarnate peace and nonviolence as well, in the sense, if you are an apostle of peace, working for peace, how can you keep and preserve that within yourself? I said, what do you propose? I said, well, I don't know, but I would have loved to receive all these tools before going to Afghanistan to prevent this PTSD. And he says, sure, and how do you do that? I said, we should create a curriculum where we are going to learn the technique of yoga, of breathing, of meditation, to go deep within yourself and to reconnect with your soul, actually, and to see all the symptoms through your emotion, to prevent to go into depression. I say, okay, go for it. And so I fundraise and I develop the Inner Peacekeeping Program, which is 3 days program for the Humanitarian before going on mission, during the mission, and after the mission to figure out how they are on mental health. I don't want to take too much of time.
No, that's amazing. I'm in awe of your work, everyone. Incredible. And so necessary, and so necessary. I hear in what you're saying that there's an aspect of walking your talk, that if you're going to go out there and you're going to work for peace, you should embody peace, that it's about actually actioning that inner world. Marion, I want to hear about your initiative and what actions you're putting into the world and how you're walking your talk. Tell us about your initiative, your journey. We want to hear all about it.
Sure. I'm here for that. I'm here for you all to present you about my journey on cleaning the Everest. So I was a Himalayan trekking guide, I guess, and then I was just seeing the mountain, Mount Everest. But actually the Tibetans, where I live in Tibet for 18 years, they were not seeing the Everest as the Everest. They see the Everest as a Jomo Langma. Jomo Langma is the name for the goddess of the elephant protecting the earth. It's the name they give for the mountain. So we had a vision together with the Tibetans that we are going caring for the Jomo Langma. If the mountain gives us protection, how we are going to give back or care? And so with 100 Tibetans, we started projects together with 50 yaks as well.
50 yaks?
Yeah, 50 yaks.
You got the animals involved too?
Yes.
Great.
Actually, the Tibetan mountain guide from the mountain guide school, they offered 50,000 hours of the time to collect the trash from the Mount Everest, because there was 10 tons of pollution, of trash, waste on the mountain, on the north face in Tibet. So it took us 6 years. It took us like 300,000 euros to start on this project. And then the government, the local government, and then the central government took over after the fourth years. I'm talking actually very loudly, I think, but the microphone should be working fine, yeah.
I think we're okay. Can everyone hear okay? Yeah, we've got thumbs up in the back.
Okay, good.
I think we're good, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we came up with an environmental charter, because it was good at the beginning to work as a volunteers, like offering hours and hours of collecting trash on the Mount Everest. But at some point, it's good to have a kind of a bottom-up kind of movement of like local staff, like mountain-related jobs, like cooks and assistants and mountain guides to clean up the mountains, including me and the volunteers from the international expedition. But it was also good to have a legislation, like a top-down kind of project from the local government and then the central government to endorse the environmental charter that we have put together, so that we actually have a long-term kind of protection of the mountain. To care for the mountain is not only to clean up all the waste, but it's also to have a guarantee that in the future there is no more expeditions that are going to trash the mountain. So the one environmental charter was kind of instrumental for the success of the project. And then I went, 3 times to the summit, just to feel like what it is to high altitude acclimatization for the body. So that it's not only a vision, like kind of, okay, we have a dream for having like to give back to the highest mountain in the world, this pristine kind of glaciers and the cleanliness of the mountain. But it's also good to have like experience in your body, like with all the cells, like what it is. I mean, the mind and the body cannot be separated. So to experience what it is by myself, climbing up to the top, experiencing the difficulties of all the climbers who go to the summit, was also part of the process. Yeah, and then, well, actually, we took care of 180 degrees of the mountain with the Tibetans on the north face. But is our vision really achieved? Well, actually, no. And I still feel very sad for that. when I hear from the Sherpas in Nepal, on the Nepali side of the Mount Everest in the south, I hear that there is even more pollution than on the north side, where we have worked. So now, actually, our work, and this is going to be very, very tough, is to work on the 360 degrees of caring for the mountain, and to have the Nepalese government to endorse a new environmental charter that needs to be adapted for the context. But yeah, to have one environmental charter for both sides and to take care of like 360 degrees of the mountain.
Wow, so the work's not done yet, but the work that you've done so far has already made such a massive impact.
10 tons of trash, Leah, that was left over for...
That's absolutely incredible, Marion. Absolutely incredible. I'm curious because I fixated on this as I was sort of presenting your bios. I just realized that the two of you have something in common, and it's that both of you have studied Buddhism. You've both met the Dalai Lama, if I'm not mistaken, or you've definitely worked in Tibetan context. I imagine most of us can't take a month off of our lives and go meet His Holiness the Dalai Lama, go live in the Himalayas, but there must be things that you learned while you were in these spaces that you can share with the audience, change makers, leaders, people who want to make a difference, that can propel maybe their journeys forward. Is there something you'd like to share around your learning there? Go ahead, as you're inspired.
Yes, definitely. Of course. But because you are change maker, I believe so, I want to share with you a tip which I learned from all the spiritual master. It's like, if you want peace, if you want love, if you want joy, if you want harmony, if you want consciousness, you have to find it within yourself. And how do you find it within yourself? You find within yourself what blocks you for getting access to that. And what can block you, for instance, is what Carl Jung called the shadow. It could be your family lineage. It could be your trauma. I was very traumatized. I was completely disconnected. So how do you heal yourself? Well, you can do EMDR, you can do hypnosis, you can do plant medicine, you can go on analysis, you can do journaling, you can dance, you can sing, you can do yoga, you can do meditation to reconnect mind, body, and spirit in order to come back to your alignment. And this is how you will bring peace, love, joy, harmony, and consciousness to bring this new world that we are all been expecting and working for.
All right, so be the change is what I hear, yeah.
That's why we are in Change Now, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Marion?
Well, to me, what Buddhism has really taught me is compassion. Compassion and courage. Courage and compassion. Courage comes from the heart. But the courage to stay with something which is actually not comfortable, even like the mountain was ill, that there was like huge pollution on the slopes of the mountains. So to stay connected with that, actually I could feel it in myself, the disgust that wanted to to vomit, that I could feel the suffering of the mountain. And it's true, of course, for human to human. Like if I'm deeply connected with the suffering of others, I actually find from within the resource of the love, the care, the warmth, the determination, and also the confidence that actually there is a way to get better. And it's the compassion is going a little bit forwards after the empathy, being in empathy with someone or with the earth, but then not just like staying with that, with the suffering. I mean, staying with it as long as it needs to stay with. But then there is a kind of resource that needs to grow in us, and that we can train in every day to take care of ourselves as well, in in some good habits of bringing this warmth, this love, and this care, smiling, hugging, so that actually when we need to take action for big actions, like for others and for the earth, then all those resources are available. There is enough kindness in us that we give to ourselves that we actually can bring to outside. So compassion is to be able to stay with the problem, with the difficult situation, with the discomfort, or with the suffering, and to stay as long as it needs until there is a shift that's actually the inner resources giving us a vision, a hope for getting in a better state.
Thank you. Amandine, did you want to add something?
Yes, of course. If I remember well, Tenzin Gyatso, because Marion speaks perfectly Tibetan, is it compassion in action?
Yeah, the name of the Dalai Lama is compassion in action.
I did not.
And actually, action brings strength also for bringing these inner resources. To feel the compassion actually is always kind of growing in our daily life. So action is totally part of those tools or skills that we need to cultivate in our daily lives.
And because you asked me and I realized I didn't really answer your question about Buddhism.
Sure.
The best practice I remember from Buddhism is Tonglen. And I don't know if people know about Tonglen, raise your hand. So Tonglen is actually a technique where you do inhale, but you do exhale. For instance, when I was in Afghanistan, I was not aware, I'm an empath personality, which means I'm like a sponge.
You absorb other people.
And I've been absorbing all the bomb, the negativity, the toxicity, the chaos. And when I came back to France, I was like 3 months pregnant. And when I went to see this healer, he said, "Congratulations, you're pregnant." I said, "I'm not." He said, "So what happened?" He said, "Well, tell me." And he said, "Well, I can see bombing, assassination, and everything." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "The problem with you is like you have been absorbing or cleaning like a vacuum cleaner all the negativity, but you don't know how to exhale. You have been just inhaling. So for this reason, you need to learn Tonglen. You have, when you do go on mission at service, it's good to serve, but give back to yourself. It's about self-care, right? And also, I have to say, because you were asking some tip, and I can share with you my 5 non-negotiable, which is in order for me to keep my sanity wherever I go, it's like I double check if I did sleep well, if I'm enough hydrated, if I eat properly, not like junk food, if I go on my inner self-awareness, which means journaling, and if I have any way to reconnect myself to my soul. It could be going to nature, it could be going on therapy, or having a chat with a friend. And if I don't feel okay, because it's all being connected to your emotion, if I don't feel okay, I stop and I say, what does it mean? It's on my list of 5 non-negotiable. I say, okay, I need to sleep more, okay. And it's really helped me. It's like an inner GPS, kind of, and really help you. And what I want to say about the fact that if we do want for peace, love, joy, harmony, bring back to the world, this is emotion which vibrate at a higher frequency, unlike anger, hatred, jealousy, frustration. So you need to remove all these parts within yourself to raise your frequency in order to reach this level of consciousness.
Wonderful. Thank you. We have a little bit of time left. I'm wondering, is there, because we're at ChangeNOW, and ultimately we want change now, we want the world to be a better place, we want to fight climate change, we want gender equality, we want it immediately. Is there maybe one thing that if humanity fostered, created into a practice, that you believe could change the world for the better, fundamentally? there's one thing that we worked on, do you have any thoughts, any ideas what that might be for you?
Well, to be in service, and with a joyful effort, not like forcing things, but bringing the semshuk. Semshuk in Tibetan is the strength of the mind, but it's also the joyful effort. And to be in service with this joyful attitude, it brings actually selflessness. So selflessness is when you actually put yourself aside for something bigger than you, and that you actually connect to like not only a vision or a mission of being in action, but also like the sense of like, of course, togetherness. And what the Dalai Lama always say, and I think is his main message for now, so I'm just going to repeat it, is the oneness of 8 billion human beings. He always talk about that. It's just the oneness that makes really the difference. But the oneness of 8 billion human beings, it brings us to actually to feel the selflessness. And it's a complete shift. So, I mean, of course, it's not going to happen like that. We say it and then it happens. But, yeah, as he always repeats that these days, I'm also, along with him, saying that's the way. That's what we have to just take as a journey.
Selflessness.
Selflessness. And there's so much that goes with it. I mean, togetherness and feeling like really we depend on each other, the interdependence, and then we actually give up on our sense of competitiveness, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, of course, there is so much to let go. Basically, everything that we grasp, that we have to let go, but it's as radical as that.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Amandine, what would you suggest is the one thing that if we could foster, we've got this?
Yeah, well, it took me time to reflect. I should say when I look back at my own journey, because I've been working in conflict zone, post-conflict country for 22 years, and I realized the first part of my life was really young-oriented, like masculine, you know, like service, action, and determination, and courage, but I collapsed because I was completely disbalanced. I just developed so much of my masculinity within myself, and I repressed my femininity. We talked about that with Marion before. And I realized who I am to speak about harmony if I'm completely disbalanced, right? So I need to gain on feminine. And so feminine goes with patience. That's why my foot was broken, I believe so. And also on resilience, on caring, on loving. And I gain that in my life right now. So one tip is like every single of you, go within yourself and double check the balance. If you need a little bit more of yang, masculine, a little bit more of feminine, in order to reach the sacred union within of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, which make you in unity for the world. That's it.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing in what both of you are saying is there's a balance to be struck, actually, in how much we do and go and think, how much we feel and connect. All of those things sort of need to be balanced out. There is an aspect of self-awareness and knowing yourself that's really important, but there's also a part of activation and when you know how to act and act selflessly, and all of those things obviously aren't so easy to navigate. If they were, we'd all be, you know, in perfect harmony all the time. For me, I'd love to leave our session in a place of an invitation to the audience on how we can all seek that harmony. Is it through breath? Is it through self-awareness? How can we actually check in with ourselves to see when we're off keel, because it can happen, and it can happen like this. And I don't know about you all, I don't always get the indicators in the moment. I'm overworking, I'm stressed, I'm overstimulated, and I crash. And that's how I find out, I'm burnt out, I've gone too far, I've overserved others and underserved myself. What's the ticket back to figuring out, are we on track? How do we
How
get there?
relaxed I am. If I am relaxed, that's the compass.
How you know.
That's the compass. The body tells.
So listen to your body is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and listen to the body if it's relaxed or if it's stressed. And just how is it in the body when it's relaxed? And just feel it, feel it. Yeah.
Because if you're in a good state, your body will naturally be relaxed.
Yeah.
You can feel the tension.
Yeah,
right, if you
the
pay
body
attention.
and mind working together. So if the body is relaxed, and of course the mind is ready.
Beautiful, thank you. And Amandine, quickly, if you could close us off with a quick piece.
Yeah, I like when Phoebe was talking about imagination. I love that, is how you manifest your future. And so you use your brain, but always remember, your brain is faster than your body. The body is like a turtle, the brain is like a dog. And so, yes, in order for you to figure out how you are, yes, you're already there, but double check with your body if you can follow up on the pace. And definitely being at relaxation, if you are really in stress, you are completely disconnected from the mind, body, and spirit, and you go nowhere at the end.
Yeah, beautiful, thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is all the time we have with our panelists today, but I want to give a big, deep, and profound thank you to both of these wonderful ladies for joining us, for sharing so deeply. Thank you. And thank you so much, ladies.